Ricky here with Breaking Your Barriers on our segment, Hanging Out with Local Heroes. And this local hero for today is a fellow actor. He's not only an actor, let me go and give you his accolades. I had to print this out because I don't want to miss a thing. This is my man. This is Lawrence Calhoun. My brother over here, he's been acting, modeling, dancing for years. And not only that, this brother is a substance abuse counselor, worked in homeless services. He's a mental health advocate, and he's also been clean and sober for 6 years. And what's beautiful about that, my man is able to put his emotions and his vulnerability on his sleeve. So today, you're in for an amazing treat, because not only is my man going to be talking about his story, he's also going to be talking about how to stay inspired, how to keep that hope, and most importantly, the power of storytelling. Without further ado, let me go to introduce my brother from another mother, Lawrence Calhoun.
Thank you for having me, Ricky. You got me blushing over here, man, and that's kind of hard to do for a Black man.
Hey, brother, you and I run into each other for a few times on sets, left and right, here and there. But I've got nothing on my man over here with regards to his accolades, and I say that proudly because I'm proud to see another friend as well as a fellow co-actor do their thing. Now today, I'm just so happy to have you on here, because not only can we talk about anything and everything, you've done so many things outside of acting. It's amazing. Now, I just want you to share today what your story is, because we were just talking a few moments ago about hope, motivation, staying on top of things, and you by the way, having a podcast coming up real soon. Love to hear the stories, brother.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Ricky. It's amazing how anytime I start talking about myself, and I'm my favorite subject, by the way, so I'm the expert on Lawrence. I know so much about this dude. I never really truly know exactly where to start. So I will start with my podcast, and it's in its infancy. It's called the TFM podcast, hashtag TFM, which stands for too fucking much. Because every time I'm on set, every time I'm out and about and I'm sharing my story, some people are always laughing and say, man, you too fucking much. So, and it's something I'm still playing with. I like that one, but I have a list that we can talk about afterwards. So not quite ready to launch it yet, but it's just going to be me telling stories about my life, about being an actor, and different stories of that degree, because what I've discovered since I was a child, I love stories. I love the power of storytelling.
Yeah.
I've taken so many different courses and so many different trainings where, especially in the recovery field, we would have the clients write their story. And from whatever story they decided to share with us, revealed a lot about who they were, some of their traumas, some of their personality traits, just by someone sharing a story. And I want to do that for other people. I want to share my story to inspire other people like I've been inspired. One of my favorites, and I mean favorites, I was substance abuse counselor having a one-on-one session with one of my clients. I'm very frank when it comes to conversation. I think it's part of my charm, if you will. I'm very authentic. And if I sense somebody's not being authentic, I shut it down. So I would often tell my clients when they're telling me their story, I'm like, hey, let me pause you here. I said, hey, my bullshit detector's been going off since you started talking. So I don't know if you're doing it for my benefit or doing it for your benefit. Because if you're doing it for my benefit, you can just stop here. And when you're ready to talk to me for real, we can talk. But if you're doing it for your benefit, if this is just your way of process of getting through it, then I'll sit here and continue to listen to you. A lot of times they got offended. Most of the time they laughed and said, okay. And then they would tell me their actual story. And then from that point, oh man, yeah, yeah. When I was just sharing with you earlier how, for me, this is the perfect career of being a model and an actor and a dancer. That's right, I'm a dancer. Because I get to help other people tell their stories. I get to be a part of someone else's story, their vision, being a character in there, being a narrator, doing whatever. And yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful life, man.
I'm proud.
Very grateful.
Lawrence, I'm proud of you. I got to ask you, brother, because the fact that you're now an advocate as well as a counselor, and you're helping people get through their struggles in their life. We gotta know, how the hell did you get over your struggles? The fact that you're 6 years sober, 6 years clean. Number one, what caused you to go to the dark side in the first place? And number two, how the hell did you see the light to get out of there? Because that's not easy.
Excellent question, Ricky. It's a kind of a three-parter. So I'll start from the beginning. I grew up in a single family household. I was the man of the house. I was fortunate that I actually knew where my dad was most of the time. And it wasn't that he was absentee, he just wasn't around a lot. And we were not a priority for him. I love my father to this day. Our relationship changed a lot when I became an adult, as opposed to me being a kid. Another conversation. So what started for me was that I was trying to figure out a way to receive love. I often joke, because I'm a hugger now. I hug everybody whenever I can. I'm always appropriate most of the time. I always ask first. I don't just come and just jump on people. I've learned certain boundaries. That it's not cool just to hug people because some people aren't that comfortable with them, especially from a stranger. But I love giving hugs. And I received more hugs from my father, who I didn't live with, than I did from my mother. Wow. And I saw this on Instagram last night. And the guy was talking about our love language. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 5 love languages.
Gifts.
Gifts, acts of service, quality time, physical contact, and words of affirmation.
Yeah.
So what he said was, whatever you didn't receive as a child becomes the love language that is strongest for you. So for me, it's physical touch. That's my love language, my primary love language. And I didn't get a lot of that growing up. And so what I learned from my mom was that love is transactional. If I did certain things, then I got a pat on the back. I received praise. But if I didn't do those things, then I didn't get it. So I wasn't taught that love was unconditional. I was taught that it was conditional. And so I went about my life, the beginning of my life that way. So I was always, I have to do something for you in order for you to like me or for you to love me. Okay, so it's extremely codependent in that way. I get to college, and it's the first time that I'm not surrounded by my family. And when I tell you I lost my mind, Ricky, I lost my ever-loving mind. The first semester, we're playing football. It's in order to fall. So it's football season. I had a football scholarship to San Diego State. And we are playing. So during the season, I'm fine because we have a very strict regimented schedule. We work out, go to school, eat, work out, practice, eat. It was very regimented. So the next semester, during the spring, no, not so much. I did well enough the semester before that I was no longer on the coach's radar. So they didn't have to come and check up on me. And besides, I'm smart, I figure stuff out. So I found out whatever classes a bunch of the football players were taking, I would take none of those classes. And it got to the point where I had all my classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'd be in school all day, but I had Monday, Wednesday, Friday off. So again, I have a lot of free time. And then I discovered I like girls, and girls kind of like me. I still have what is like the ugly duckling syndrome. I still don't consider myself handsome, even though I've been told, and I know I look a certain way, but in my head, I'm still the ugly dude, so I got to make up for it in personality. And because I was so awkward as a high schooler, I started using alcohol to be the social lubricant to get that liquid courage. But what I didn't know, because I didn't have any real experience drinking, I never knew where the line was between cool social guy to passed out drunk. I always missed the mark. I always missed the mark. And so for that first semester, I pretty much drank until I passed out.
Oh, wow.
And the last time that I got super drunk, so the apartment, the dorm room that I lived in was the number was 69B. So of course I played that into, hey, we're the 69ers, right? So our room was the party room. We always had liquor. We always had this, and I was always inviting the girls over, and we're just always partying. And now that we don't have football practice, we have, again, a lot more free time. So our place was the place to be. We had 3 beer bongs. We had a little pink one called the Princess, and it only held 1 can of beer. Then we had the King Kong, which held 4, and then we had the 69er, which held a 6-pack.
Oh my God.
So one night I did all 3, and then I did shots of whiskey until we ran out of whiskey, and then we switched to Everclear.
Wow.
I don't remember any of that night. I can only tell from stories. But when I finally came to, I was in the hospital with a tube down my throat and vomit all over me. And I couldn't understand why I was black, and learned that that was charcoal that they were using to try to absorb it, because I had alcohol poisoning. And the worst part was I had to go work out the next day. Like once I got out, because I didn't want my coaches knowing.
Oh.
So I gave a fake name and all kind of stuff. So yeah, it was horrible. So that started the path. I tried to moderate my drinking, because I grew up in a house, like my family on both sides would have a bunch of functional alcoholics. And I didn't want to be like them. So I felt that as long as I wasn't getting drunk every day, I was okay. But what I discovered was I couldn't drink socially. The moment I took one, I was having 20.
Wow.
So that's how I got, that's my road to my drinking. My sponsor calls me a high bottom drunk, because my drinking never led to me being arrested, any DUIs. I didn't lose any jobs behind it. I did lose my football scholarship behind it. That's another story, but it definitely affected me. And so I go about my life, and there's a thing called a dry drunk. I wasn't really drinking often, but I was miserable. A lot of the afflictions that I had, I was trying to, what they call, white knuckle it. And didn't have a whole lot of support, so I had to do other things to try to cope. And one of the things about me is just who I am. I was the oldest son in my nuclear family, if you will. And growing up in Compton, I got beat up a lot. I got picked on, I had to fight, and I just wanted to get to a place where I could feel safe. So one of the things that I do, because I don't like bullies, because I was bullied so much most of my life, is that whenever I saw somebody being bullied, I became the knight in shining armor. I'm the one that would jump into, see somebody getting jumped, I would jump in and sometimes get my behind kicked as well, but I didn't like bullies. And there was a brief time where I actually was a bully, which is normal. It's a normal progression, but I digress. So I'm always about trying to help people. Every job I've ever had, I always become some kind of advocate, either a union like steward or just something where I'm protecting the little guys. Even though I was one of the little guys, I never considered myself that. I often tell people I was born in the wrong timeline. I should have been a knight in like medieval times, because I have that protectorate, that sense of justice and fair play.
Yeah.
So anytime, and I have to actively stop myself sometimes from jumping into situations, because I'm trying to fix something, and I just know it's not always my place to fix things or try to come to someone's rescue, but I do what I can when I can. But one of the things that I definitely trust more so is my intuition. The work that I've done on myself, I trust my gut. I trust my relationship with my higher power. So when my gut tells me to do something, I react. I just do it. So there's been times where my gut's like, hey, I need you to step in here. I step in and things worked out. But the times where I did step in when my gut told me not to, things didn't go so well. Things did not go so well. So fast forward, I am the business rep for the city of Long Beach. I'm representing 3,500 of the city of Long Beach employees. I was a mechanic for the city of Long Beach for 15 years before that.
Wow.
um, very active in our union, got the job as the business rep. Now I'm even more active. I'm kicking butt because I know a lot of the players. And now that I'm working for the union, I don't have to worry about them trying to fire me or intimidate me, cut my overtime. So I'm a pain in their behind. And I love that job. Yeah. Again, so many of these stories kind of just interrelate. It was the first job it's the only job I've ever been fired from. And I was fired for insubordination because something happened. One of my buddies tells me what happened. I tell my boss what happened. My boss wants to know who told me, and I won't tell him who told me because I didn't trust him. And yeah, so I got fired for that. But the last person that I was helping, she owned a substance abuse counseling school where they train people to be substance abuse counselors. So literally, as I was transitioning from being a business rep, because I was fired erroneously, falsely,
Yeah.
I got a nice settlement. So I didn't have to work. I didn't have to work for a while. So I ended up doing this training. And during the course of this training, the very last module was about self-care.
Nice.
Often, anytime people were doing in the social services, we have what is known as an overactive helping gene. And what happens a lot of times is that people will come in, they will want to like change the world or fix the world. And so they take on too much work and they get burned out prematurely. So one of the things that we learned was about making sure you take care of yourself first before you help anybody else. And we often talk about that in recovery. And the example that we use or the analogy is if you're on an airplane and there's any kind of cabin pressure loss, the mask drop down. Mm-hmm. They always tell you, put your mask on first before you help anybody else, including your kids. You got to help you first. Because if you're out, you're going to be no help to that kid or that person or wherever, because you're going to, being selfless ends up being selfish. So we learned about this, and one of the classes or one of the books we read is called Codependency No More. And it's a book by Melanie Beattie. I'm reading the beginning. There's a checklist, about 10 things on there. So I'm reading them like, oh, you might be codependent if you have this. And I was like, haha, I got that one. And then I read the second one. I was like, haha, I got that one too. And then my brain said, idiot, you might be codependent. So I go through the list. I think I was like 8 out of 10. So after on our first break, I go to my instructor, like, hey, I think I might be codependent. And she goes, oh, Lawrence, baby, no, don't think it. Know it. You're codependent. And so I'm like, how do you fix it? Now, I didn't have any, because I had my alcohol under control, I never went to any AA meetings or any of those things. I just took a program that was offered at the church. So as a substance abuse counselor, you're going to be sending clients to these different types of meetings. So what happens is that if you're not in recovery currently, they have you go to these meetings so you can be familiar with them. So when you're telling your clients, hey, I want you to go to this AA meeting, they're like, hey, what's it about? You can tell them, oh, it's like this. This is how it normally goes, blah, 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 blah. This is what to expect. So I'm going to these meetings and I'm resonating with everything they're talking about, with the exception of the actual drinking, like the results of drinking, but all the discomfort, all the unease, all the unhappiness. They're telling my story. So I'm getting there. So once she tells me I'm codependent, I'm one of the missions I feel that we have as human beings in this world is to be the best version of ourselves that we can be. Because God gave every one of us gifts, talents, and our job is to share all those gifts and talents with as many people as we can. Because the more people we share with, the more blessings we'll get, the more blessings they'll receive. And to me, that's the highest form of being a human being, is being the absolute best version of yourself. And the only way you can do that is by constantly challenging your quote unquote who you are. Right. And so I bring all that up to say, once I discovered that I was codependent, my brain was like, all right, let's take this on. Let's figure this out. Like, but we're not gonna be codependent for long now that we know. And I discovered that I'm gonna be codependent for the rest of my life. just like I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic for the rest of my life. I haven't had a drop of alcohol in over 6 years. But I know me that if I take that one sip, take that one drink, I know me well enough. So one of the sayings that we have in recovery is, to thine own self be true. Something my father used to say. He used to tell me, he said, son, don't bullshit yourself. Don't bullshit yourself. And what it taught me was just be true about who you are. And that's one of the things that we learn in recovery. We learn about the persona that we put out into the world and who you truly are underneath. And once you figure that part out, and it's part of the reason why I'm so happy, Ricky. I wake up every day with this attitude of gratitude. I cry almost every day because I'm so grateful for the life that I get to live today.
Brothers.
What was that?
You and I are brothers.
Gotcha.
Every morning, same thing.
Yeah, it's, and I often tell, especially when I'm posting about all the cool little different gigs I've done or whatever, I always put one of my hashtags, I love my life. Yep. And I often say, if you're not loving your life, talk to me, I can help. Now, I may not be able to fix it for you, but I can give you a blueprint, give you some guidelines in terms of how to get there. So anywho, that was a Sunday night when I was doing this training. I went to a meeting that Sunday night, didn't like the vibe there. Went to another one on Monday, didn't like the vibe there. Went to one on that Tuesday in Long Beach, and that's my home group now, or one of my home groups. That's my Codependency Anonymous group. And then I also have a biker AA group in Torrance that's also my home group. Oh man, yeah. So I don't know if that answered the question.
More than you know. The fact that you shared so much, brother. I mean, there's so much wisdom in what you said. And I love the fact that, number one, if you can't love yourself first, how do you expect to love somebody else? You can't. You got to take care of you first. And you also said something which was amazing, which I'm hoping to delve into a little bit deeper, which was you didn't even need to go to AA to recover, which was awesome, because you got people who are probably going to listen to this who might be on the fence, who are looking to change their way and to improve who they are, get away from the drink. So they might want to know how you did it. And if it's okay, Lawrence, I'd love to post your information in the description once this thing's edited, so that they can reach out to you, they can touch base with you, they can interview with you, they can listen to your podcast, and most importantly, they can listen to the amazing stories that you, this amazing storyteller, can give them.
So I'd be more than happy to share. And I tell people this all the time, I'm an open book. And what I have one of my favorite saying is, ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lie. So when I'm in a romantic relationship, I often tell my girlfriends, like, hey, I'm going to tell you. Now, are you sure you want to know? And of course, they always say they want to know. And almost always they didn't want to know or need to know. But it is what it is. I've learned to be much more tactful now. Much more tactful. But yeah, please feel free to share my info.
I'd love to, because you and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Even before coming on to this channel with me, you and I have been planning this for a little while now. And then I got massively sick for the entire month. Last month, I got COVID, I got cold, I got the flu, I had gout, I had kidney pains. Just everything was just falling on top of me. And that's the reason why what you said right there hit me so powerfully, because every morning that I get up, I thank God. Every morning that I get up, I have so much gratitude. And every morning that I get up, no matter what my situation was the morning after, the night before, I'm always waking up with a new refreshed gratitude and happiness for life. So when you said that, I was like, me and this brother, we kindred spirits.
For sure, but we figured that out on the first day of set.
Yeah, we did.
We figured that out.
I gotta ask, because when people are gonna watch this, number one, they're gonna love you. I love you, man. Ever since I met you first day of set. No joke. And I think you and I met where we were freezing our asses off and underneath that tarp. with
No, I don't think that.
with
I don't think
Polo.
that was it. No, I think we met before that.
We did.
Yeah, I think it was some kind of I don't remember if it was the chicken, the movie with the chicken wings.
Gosh, I
And you
can't.
were playing. Were you playing a prisoner guard?
I think I
And I
was
was
a
one of the
prisoner guard.
inmates.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was one of the inmates. I think that was the first time.
I'm telling you, brother, I'm either a prisoner or a prison guard. It doesn't get any more clear than that.
I think because of this beard, they never allowed me to play prison guard. But yeah, I've only been a prisoner like 3 times. I
Oh,
do my best not to perpetuate negative stereotypes. So I do my best not to play criminals, prisoners, homeless. I've done all 3 because the projects, well, either I needed the money or the projects were significant, something that I thought had a positive message behind it.
right.
And yeah, I don't know, man. Sometimes I think I overthink things, and other times I just say, the heck with it. Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata, and I just go with it because my typecast anyway is gangster, thug, police, fireman, any of those in law. Because I can't play a nerd, and I accept that. I know that.
You said you can't play a nerd?
No, I tried, but they told me when I put the glasses on, they said, "Ooh, you look like a creeper or some dude that's looking into windows." I was like, "What the heck?"
That's hilarious.
Oh
That's
man,
funny.
you've gone through this. You were on top of the world. You had this scholarship. You dropped that scholarship. Dropped the perpetual ball, and then got into drink, and so on and so forth, so on and so forth. You had a snowball effect. What is it that you going through all of this and becoming this amazing individual who you are today? What is your message for people who are currently at ground zero, looking to make their way and climb their way and claw their way back up? What do you suggest, and what do you think they should do to achieve the same
Okay,
success?
copy that. Well, obviously everybody's different. Everybody has their own personal struggles, things of that nature. One of the things that I love about being in 12-step program, being in recovery, is that we don't give a crap about what your past was, what happened to you. When you walk through those doors, it's a fresh start. It's a fresh day. We often say in meetings, these seats are for the people who want it, not for the people who need it. Because there's a lot more people who need it who don't have the courage, they don't have the strength to come in and admit that they need help.
Right.
And this goes back to being true to yourself. I know me. I know what my weaknesses are. I know what my blind spots are. Mm-hmm. So the people that I used to hang out with, and it was so amazing how once I started recovery, there's this whole group of friends that I had that just fell off the face of the earth. I didn't go out of my way and say, hey, I'm not going to talk to so-and-so no more. I just spent more and more time with my recovery people, which I call my tribe. Right. And because of the time I was spending with them and now the vibrations that I have, I'm literally repelling those other people. So in terms of, oh, I love my brain sometimes. Okay, so thinking about buying a new car. Before you buy a new car, there's all these checklists and things that you got to go through. But what's the very first thing you have to do before you buy a new car? You have to be ready to get rid of the old car. Because no matter how much research you do, all that checking out of, if you're not ready to get rid of the old car, the new car is never going to come. So same thing with recovery. If you want a new life, you can't get that new life until you're ready to get rid of the old life. You cannot get the help until you're ready to receive the help. As a substance abuse counselor, there are so many times where a client will come in and they're being mandated by the court and they didn't want to be there and they weren't ready. And so my job is to basically give people information, but ultimately I say you're a free person. Because as soon as you're done with the program, you're going to go back out to the streets.
That's right.
Because you're not ready yet. And I always tell them, you don't have to bullshit me. Just keep it 100 with me because that's what I'm going to do. So I'm not going to sit here and preach to you about the evils of drinking or getting high or all this stuff because you already know. Most addicts know this stuff better than me. My goal is to help you minimize the usage, make sure you're aware of all the dangers, and when you're ready, know where to go to. So there'll be no preaching from me, or at least not intentionally. Sometimes spirit comes and talks through me, but that is not intentional. So people who are at the bottom looking to get help, most folks have technology, have a smartphone. You can just do a Google search and AA meetings near me, or any type, whatever we always call it, whatever your ism is. If it's meth, if it's crack, if it's cocaine, whatever it is, there's a meeting for you. And if you can't find one, just go to an AA meeting, because for the most part, AA is where it all started from. It's the umbrella, and most of the people don't just do one thing. It's usually a multiple of vices. So back to what you asked me about the rock bottom, or being ready. Mm-hmm. It's just being truthful with yourself. What I've discovered is that people who have some kind of addiction, they're either trying to mask the pain or run from the pain. One or the other. Part of recovery, because it's not really that challenging to not drink. People get clean and sober all the time. Usually they get locked up in prison, so they don't have access to it, but they get clean and sober. So they have this moment of clarity. Some of them come out and go into recovery. Some go right back to what they were doing, because again, they weren't ready to stop. When you are ready, we talk about how you basically have to replace, because there's a reason why you're an addict. There's something you get out of getting high, something that you get out of getting drunk. So once that's taken away, what do you replace it with? And what a lot of my clients used to tell me, it's like, Lauren, it's like, recovery is boring. We don't have any fun. We don't do any this, because they're accustomed to living this very high risk lifestyle. Yep. And once you start doing everything on a schedule, all those risks go away or minimized. So it's like, what do I do with all this? So my role, or one of the things I felt was, I guess you could say it was like one of my strengths, or what I added to the groups, was that I showed them how fun recovery was. I'd always come back, like, oh man, I went to the speaker meeting out in the valley, and me and my buddies rode our motorcycles and whoop, whoop, whoop. And then we were like, took over this restaurant, and we were having all this fun and blah, blah, blah. And, or just anything, like, yeah, I put together this little ice cream social where after a meeting, we went to hang out at this vegan ice cream spot, and we're out in the parking lot, and we're doing karaoke and just having fun and playing games. And like, man, it's like, well, if this is what recovery looks like, I want to roll with you. I want to do what you guys are doing. So I was like, yeah, once you get out of here, here's my contact info. This is where I go. And more importantly, and this is just life lesson for me, just being honest, just being truthful, just being who you really are. Most of the times I have great days. There's times where I have bad moments, but otherwise a great day. I'm a human being. We have ups and downs, and it's okay. And I used to think that I couldn't be that person. I always had to be on and it wasn't genuine. Right. And so how do somebody who's going to recovery and they have their own ups and downs, connect with you if you're if you're always just like super duper sunshiny person? So I'll come into work sometimes and I'll be like, hey, don't say shit to me until we get back to the other house. I'm tired, I'm in a mood, blah, 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 blah. And because they knew me, a lot of times they would poke fun at me, and they would end up getting me out of my whatever somber mood I was in. And it's just, without going too far down a rabbit hole, I'm big about energy and karma. And my goal is to put as much positivity into the universe as I possibly can. Period. I don't ever worry about how it comes back to me. I just know how the universe works. And that I know that whatever I put out there is going to come back to me, sometimes 2 to 10-fold. So now I say that not to sacrifice things and become a monk or anything like that, but just, my father used to always tell me, short-term sacrifices lead to long-term gains. Right. Short-term sacrifices lead to long-term gains. So sometimes you have to set aside that instant gratification and look at the big picture. man, I feel like I'm rambling now. Like I've been just going all over the place. So in conclusion, if you need help, ask for it. Simple as that. You can Google any 12-step recovery program, any AA. And one of the beautiful things about AA in particular, but just the 12-step program, they're everywhere.
Yep.
I travel a lot. The first thing I do when I get to my hotel room, I look up any AA meetings or any 12-step meetings. And there's always some. And the community is so amazing. You can call them. And this is before Zoom or Uber, not Zoom, but Uber and Lyft and stuff. And if you need a ride, somebody will come pick you up and take you to the meeting. And this is all over the country and all over the world. I haven't traveled out of the world since I've been in recovery, but outside of the world, outside of the country.
That's an awesome support group, by the way. For them to do that, they really care about their people.
We do, and that's the whole thing, because every one of us have been there, which is another reason why it's so important to, when you are ready, or even if you're not, just to be honest, because most of us have been criminals, we've been con artists, we do all kind of stuff because you got to support your addictions. So we tend to be the best at reading people. So you come in and we talk about people coming into the rooms and they're drunk. And we don't say, hey, you can't come in here, you're drunk. We sit you down, somebody usually sit next to you, and just make sure that you don't pass out, make sure you don't disrupt the meeting or whatever. And then after the meeting, we sit down and have a chit chat with you, get you some coffee.
Awesome.
And just, again, checking where you are, making sure you're okay. Because again, awesome. The fact that you're in the room meant that you had enough wherewithal, enough strength to come, even if you needed that courage to get there. And our goal, because we're not here to judge.
Wow.
My goal is just to be myself. If someone needs my assistance, to give it where I can, as long as it's not compromising me. And that was the component. I used to compromise myself. And one of the things we talked about in the mental health field, and it really any social service, I can't want to help this client more than they want to help themselves.
That's right.
Because what would happen, I was like, oh, this person needs this, and I would do all this work for them. It's like, okay, all you got to do is just show up to this place at 8 o'clock on Monday morning. 8 o'clock Monday morning, nowhere to be found. Now come back, I'm so mad. I did this and this and this and this and this. Now, I don't worry about none of that. I'm like, hey man, can you make it here at this time? Yay, cool. Well, if you're there, I'll be there. If you're there, cool, we'll go from there. And if not, because I can't put myself out there. I can't want it more than you. Right. And that goes to recovery, that goes to hitting goals, it goes to so many different things. I can't want what's best for you more than you want what's best for you.
Right. You hit it right on the head, brother, especially with the fact that people need to, no matter what it is, regardless of its addiction, regardless of their goals, dreams, desires, passions, whatever it is, the ultimate and most important word they need to realize is that they need to make a damn choice. They need to choose on their own behalf. They can't let an external factor tell them, yo, this is exciting. This. They need to choose, regardless if it's going to be fun, boring, hard, easy, whatever it's going to be, they need to choose for themselves. So you hit it right on the head.
I appreciate that, sir.
I awesome.
Appreciate that.
But like I told you, for those of you that are going to be watching this, listening to this, regardless of how many you are, remember, our goal here at Breaking Your Barriers is to inspire one person at a time. And hopefully the message continues to spread. And like I told you at the very beginning, had an awesome dude. Got my brother Lawrence here. This guy's awesome. He tells it like it is. And that is one of his massive charms that he carries with him, because he tells you what you don't want to hear, and then you realize it later on. Say, you know what? That made perfect sense. And I love that about you, Lawrence. Ever since I met you, you've never been somebody to hold back. You say what you say because you're not trying to be a jerk. You're not trying to be a dick. You're just who you are, and you know who you are. And I love that. And for those of you listening, you need it.
I was just going to say, there are times, Ricky, where I am a dick. I am. It's intentional. It's intentional. Yeah. Because again, I trust my intuition. I trust because there's times where I experience other people being a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and then they come at me, and I do my best to be diplomatic.
Right.
But if they're still coming at me a certain way, it's like, oh, I need to break you down. I need to hurt your feelings, and I'm going to do it. And there's times people just rub me the wrong way because again, I'm human. I am human. My one of my favorite mantras is I'd much rather ask for forgiveness than permission. So I'm the one that's always flooring. I'm the one that's always going places where like, hey, don't go back there. And I'm like, why not? And then I go back there. I'm like, oh, that's why they don't want me to go back there. Got it. Yeah, there are times where and part of it is just me, just being me. But my goal is never to offend. But like you said, there's times where I feel I don't even need, yeah, I'll say need, desire, whatever, to show someone themselves. So I always tell people, I'm a mirror. Whatever you give me, I'm gonna give back to you. I'm just a reflection. So you cool with me, I'm usually cool with you. You're addicted to me, I'm gonna be addicted to you.
I love that. We were just talking about this a few moments ago. And this is the reason why. And this is I gotta tell you, I see it like I see it too. I'm one of those kind of dudes also. But when you told me what you shared a moment ago, which was they chose you to be the champion of that particular thing they're submitting, I know why. Because you got that great personality, you got that great aura, you got that great energy, exactly what you were talking about. And like what we talked about this entire interview, which is our past will never determine our destiny. And you're proving that. You're proving that. That's the reason why I'm still so honored and excited to have you, brother. Really, bottom of my heart.
Appreciate that. And I'm also honored too. Like you were talking about beginning, like we've been talking about doing this for a while. Yep. And a lot of it has been me. Like I was afraid. I'm like, who wants to hear from me? I'm just Lawrence. Nobody cares about me. Nobody cares about like this stuff. And literally, maybe 2 months ago, I just decided, I won't even say decided, I was moved to start stretching my comfort zone. And the biggest way to do that is by doing the things that scare you.
Mm-hmm.
So I agreed to do this, and as soon as I did, I'm like, oh man, I should like see if I can take this email back or see if I can get this message back. So, and yeah, and I know this to be true. Whatever we're afraid of, the longer we wait until we do it, the bigger and scarier it gets.
Right.
But almost every time, and I mean every time, it's never as scary as you thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. Ever. Ever. So what I started doing is preparing myself for worst case scenario, mm-hmm. knowing that it's never going to happen. But just in case, I'm ready. And it never happens. So like this has been a blast, man. It's just like us being on set, just shooting stuff. So many things are popping in my head now. Don't be afraid to follow your dreams. People, and usually the people closest to us that love us the most, will shit on your dreams. Mm-hmm. They're not doing it to hurt you. They're doing it to protect you in their eyes because they only know you through their lenses. They don't know who you really are because only you know who you really are. Sometimes they're pretty good, but they don't always know everything. So if there's anything that you want, go for it. As one of the quotes saying that you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I am almost 50 years old. I know with all this gray, I look older, which is part of the reason why I've been killing it with the old man roles and stuff. I saw this recently, and they talked about the 5 biggest regrets that people had as they're on their deathbeds. Mm. One was they wish they would allow themselves to be happier. Second one was they wish they didn't work as much and spent more time with their family. Third one was they wish they would have took more chances and told the people around them how much they loved them. The fourth thing was they wish they would have took more chances in terms of finding different types of jobs or careers and things. And the last one is that they wish they would have told more people that they loved them. So I go out of my way now to do those things now, because tomorrow's not promised to us. I ride motorcycles and I am not passive when I ride. So there's numerous times throughout the course of me riding that I could be taken out, or like I've been down several times. I have the road scars to prove it. You never know. So I do my best, and I'm not always perfect at it or great at it, but I do my best to let everybody know who I care about, that I care about them. I tell everybody in my tribe I love them when we hang up the phone. So I want to make sure that they know. And something I started doing recently is leaving voice memos, like using the little voice messages, and that way they have a record of me saying something to them. Usually something positive, inspiring, and it's usually just my reflections or my thoughts on who this person is to me. Just letting them know. Because I did that for my son once, and he really appreciated it, and so it's had this cascading effect. So I know that wasn't short, but that's what I got, Ricky. Just don't be afraid to live your life. And because when you go to the grave, all the stuff that you're like, you can't take none of this stuff with you. The only thing that you have is what you leave behind.
That's right.
And it's not with physical things, it's with people. So my goal is to touch as many people as I can and as positive a manner as I can. So that's what I got.
Other than that, brother, thank you for being on the show. And like Lawrence said, it's all about love. We do what we do. I do what I do here because it's out of love for the people who are going to watch this. This is for people who need this message, who need to hear what we've got to say today. So I thank you, Lawrence, and you're not just Lawrence to me. You are a local hero. You are one hell of an individual, and most definitely you are more than enough, brother. Thanks for being here. Ricky with Breaking Your Barriers. Until our next guest gets on this show. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.